Hi there, I'm Jon Addison. I'm the Senior Curator of Public History here at the Queen Victoria Museum and Art Gallery. And we've got a new exhibition on here at Inveresk called H.J. King Cameras and Carburettors. Now, there's lots of stuff relating to cameras, but we've also got a little bit of material relating to carburettors, namely these two bikes. And they're pretty interesting because they are really fantastic early examples of the development of the motorcycle. So the first one you can see here on the left, the blue one, is our Thor/Indian. And we say this because we don't actually know whether it's a Thor or an Indian. The reason is that the Thor Motor Company used to actually make parts for Indian. And even though they weren't allowed to construct entire bikes, they found a little loophole whereby they could export parts and people could actually assemble themselves what was essentially an Indian motorbike out of Thor parts, as long as Thor didn't construct it themselves. This may be a mixture, we're not sure, but the interesting thing about this is we know that this was imported by a man called Percy Harrison in 1903. So this is a 1902 bike, so that means it's really, really early, because the Indian Motorcycle Company didn't start until 1901. So this is one of their really early models, and you can tell because it looks a little bit like the sort of illegitimate offspring of a bike and a motorbike, which is basically what it is. It has been built as a motorcycle. You can see that that the engine is actually part of the structure of the bike. It still has pedals, but the pedals are really there as a starter motor. It's like a sort of early moped. Over on here, this is a King's Champion V-twin. And what's really interesting is that other than the engine, everything about this bike was constructed here on Charles Street. So the King family had, two different rented shops on Charles Street before they eventually moved to the Kingsway, which incidentally wasn't named after them. It was named after the King. So they were constructing these bikes. They did two models, one with an imported British Minerva engine, which was a single cylinder. So this is the heavier, faster V-twin version. So these are really, really interesting examples of early motorcycles. They would have been pretty hard to ride, but they had some, really nice innovations. I mean, you'll notice that the Champion has front suspension. It has two little rear panniers, one of which actually contains a spare fuel canister. So if you're interested in seeing these two bikes and some of the amazing photography and other objects that we've got on display in this new exhibition, H.J. King Cameras and Carburettors, come down to the Inveresk site. The exhibition is open all year round for a year and it's free.